The truth about consciousness is not as Kant would have us believe it, that we don't perceive things correctly at all, that we see through faulty biological eyes. This way of thinking, promoted since the Enlightenment by Kant among others, has led to the general view that is now common, that we are essentially just brains that exist inside a vat of liquid, that we are just inside a skeleton and meat suit that we call a body. This is what liberal Enlightenment thinkers such as Newton, Locke, Bacon, Descartes, and Kant would have you believe. Instead, the truth about consciousness and life and perception is more like what William Blake or Emanuel Swedenborg thought it was, which is that our minds are not inside the universe, they rather contain the universe itself. When you approach the universe from this perspective, it changes fundamentally how you experience reality. You will suddenly go from feeling like you are a meaningless being inside an alienating cosmos, to feeling like you are now the cosmos itself, and everything you see is a projection of you. Not simply that you're projecting your own mind onto matter, but more that matter itself is a projection of the mind. You might then counter, what about other people's minds? The answer to that would be that all beings share the same mind, the same imagination, the same soul. This is the nous or intellect of Plotinus, the world soul of Hermeticism, the Adam Kadmon of Kabbalah, the imagination of William Blake, and the collective unconscious of Carl Jung. There is one mind, and all individual minds are pieces which have emanated from it. But emanation seems so misleading a term. It implies a separation from the world tree, but there is no such thing. The truth is that all minds are connected, and really are one mind. This is why everyone is psychically connected like Carl Jung believed. This is why everyone has the same archetypes or forms in their minds. It is because all minds are just pieces of the great mind which is reality itself. They are separated by ego, or at least what seems like ego. The truth of ego is that ego is a word which is used to describe two things. One is that ego is the part of your consciousness that contains a lot of your personality and makes you want to do things. It is the source of ambition as well as the desires for sex, food, sleep, love, and anything else you want or desire. And two is that ego describes the self, our true sense of individuality, which can never be destroyed. It can reincarnate into new bodies and adopt many personalities and egos. It can also turn in on itself and attain a sense of heavenly bliss and delusional sense of oneness and a false sense of annihilationism, only to be pulled out of it by an angel or spirit sent by the gods for the purposes of encouraging you to incarnate again and continue your soul growth, which must be done in the material world. The reason soul growth must be done in the material world is because it requires the denseness of this plane to solidify any growth or changes that are made to the soul. The non-dual reality of nature worship is that if one is to truly worship nature and see the divinity in the natural world, then one needs to first remove the atheistic materialist programming from their way of thinking. And the best first step to doing this is by changing their mindset. I will repeat what I said earlier for emphasis. I repeat, they must start believing that their mind is not in the world, but that their mind is the world, that their world is in the mind, and that their mind is not theirs alone, that they share a mind with everyone else, and that their sense of individuality comes from being a peace of mind, which is still connected to and is a part of the great mind. The reason why this level of mind, or the universe, seems so solid is because this level of mind represents the denser parts of the mind. It must then be understood that this great mind, or logos, or intellect, or world tree, or world soul, is only a manifestation of an even deeper reality, which is the reality of the One, or principle, or the primordial waters, Noon as the Egyptians called it, or Tiamat as the Babylonians called it. This is the divine darkness of Gregory of Nyssa and Mechthild of Magdeburg. This is the underlying principle of reality which underlies creation itself and is the source of creation itself. It is the watery abyss from which the universe was brought forth by the initial creative force, whether you call it Ra, Yahweh, or Christ. This primordial Godhead is the origin of God and the origin of reality itself.